So continuing with notes, we're going to go down to our 30, 60, 90s. This is like half of an equilateral triangle. So the short leg would be across from the 30-degree angle. So this would be the short leg. This would be the long leg. And remember, the hypotenuse is always located across from the 90-degree angle. So we figured out if the short leg is just n, according to our warm-up, then the long leg would be n square root of 3, and the hypotenuse is just twice the n. So n is the shortest side, and then each of those are just multiplied something times it. So the shorter leg is always opposite the 30-degree angle, and the longer leg is always opposite the 60-degree angle, because the hypotenuse is across from the right angle. So finding the missing sides. Let's try this one. In this picture, I'm going to label, if this is 60, this is 30. So 5 is the short leg. X is the long leg. And Y is your hypotenuse. So according to this is your n. The long leg is your n square root of 3. And your hypotenuse is twice the n. So those are just kind of the rules around the picture. So if the short side is 5, the x would equal 5 square root of 3. And again, if the n, or the short side, is 5, the y equals twice that. So 2 times 5 is 10. Let's label the next picture. Opposite the 30 degrees is considered the short side. Then we have the long leg. And then we have the hypotenuse. So if our short side is the n, and your long leg is n square root of 3, y would equal 14 square root of 3. Your hypotenuse is twice the n. So x equals twice 14. 14 times 2 would be 28. Those are the easiest ones if they give you the short side. If they don't, it does get a little bit more complicated. So 30 degrees, opposite of 30 is your short leg. You have our long leg, and then you have the hypotenuse. I'll put the rules. The short leg is n, the long leg is n square root of 3, and the hypotenuse is 2n. Well, in this case, they didn't give us the short side, but they did give us hypotenuse. So if 2n equals 32, how could we figure out what the n is? Well, let's see. This is twice the n, so you would divide it by 2. So n equals 16. So if we know n, we now know the short side. X is going to equal 16. And the y, the long leg, would be 16 square root of 3. So a little bit harder if they give you the hypotenuse, but not too bad. Let's look at the back of your notes then. We still have a 30, 60, 90. If this angle is 60, this angle is 30, which makes the y the short leg, the 20 the long leg, and the x the hypotenuse. So the rules are n square root of 3, and 2n. Now I'm just going to warn you, this one looks the hardest because you're doing that rationalizing the denominator. You take the rule n square root of 3 and you set it equal to 20. That's the long leg. So we have to solve for n in order to figure out the other two. So we'll divide by square root of 3. Well, we can't leave it with a square root in the denominator, so that's when I say rationalize the denominator. You're going to multiply by square root of 3 over square root of 3. We do that, so if you look at this, 20 square root of 3 over the square root of 9. Well, the square root of 9 is 3. So I have 20 square root of 3 over 3. This represents the short leg of this triangle. So the short leg was the y. So in this case I'll say that's my y answer. And the x answer is to multiply that by 2. So if you take 2 times 20 square root of 3 over 3, well 20 times 2 is just 40 square root of 3 over 3. So that was our x value, that was our hypotenuse. You took your short leg and then you times it by 2. So 20 times 2 is just 40. You don't multiply the 3, because remember if 2 was a fraction it would be 2 over 1. So you're not really multiplying the denominator by 2. Alright, one more like these. If you have, identify what we have. The short leg is the x, hypotenuse is the y, and the long leg is the 9 square root of 3. So, if we put n square root of 3, and 2n. So the rule n square root of 3 equals 9 square root of 3. This is my favorite kind, because when you divide by the square root of 3 to solve for n, just like on that side, how those cancel out, so you have n equals, on this side they also cancel out, so n equals 9. So the short side in this triangle is x equals 9, and the hypotenuse is 2 times 9, so that would be 18. Alright, the last couple we have, these are called multi-step questions, where we're going to try and break it apart. We know that this is 30, this is 60, this is 30, and what information do we have? On this small 30, 60, 90, we know this part's 7 square root of 3, and this part's the x, and we don't have a number here at all, or a letter. So if this is the short side, and this is the hypotenuse, and this is the long leg on that one. So if I was going to figure that out, the short side is 7 square root of 3. If you times that by 2, then the hypotenuse, or the x value, is going to be 14 square root of 3. And this height right here, the long leg, is n square root of 3. So if you take 7 square root of 3 times the square root of 3, we get 7 square root of 9. 7 times 3 equals 21. Okay? So inside here, this is 21. And this side was 14 square root of 3. And now we use that to find this one. So, our new triangle we have, 21 is the short leg, the hypotenuse is y and z. So if this is short, this one is 42, it's just double it, and this one is 21 square root of 3. So those are all your numbers.